Welcome to this webinar hosted by belarteSTUDIO and Sara Garanty. My name is Ida and I am the head of design here at belarteSTUDIO. And I just wanted to start by briefly talking a bit about us and what we do. So belarteSTUDIO is a wallpaper brand that design and produce exclusive custom-made wall murals. And for us, sustainability has always been really close to our hearts. And therefore, we love that we have the ability to produce on demand with as little waste as possible. And as many of you might already know, we love art and pattern in all shapes, sizes, and colors. And we really want to have an open-minded design process, and we love to merge influences from various different design fields, and it can be anything from art, fashion, furniture, nature, pretty much anything that surrounds us. Another important part I would like to highlight is the way we work and want to work with interior designers. And that is to really have a tight communication and creative exchange, because we really want to be able to create the wallpapers and wall murals that you desire for your projects. So if you have any ideas, don't hesitate to contact us. And from the start, our mission has always been to really create unique interiors that gives that wow feeling when you enter a space. And that is whether it's a neutral color setting, bright and colorful, or dark and moody. We strongly believe that there is a design for any style or aesthetic. And so today we teamed up with Sara Garanty, and we're going to talk a bit about our newly launched collection, Aura of Color. And Sara is also going to share her thoughts and knowledge within color psychology and how to use it in interiors, and of course together with wallpaper. And we're so happy to have you all here and to be able to do this with Sara. And yeah, with that said, I will hand over the word to you, Sara, so you can continue.
Thank you, Ida, and I'm so happy about this collaboration with belarteSTUDIO. We've been working with this wallpaper collection for, I think, over a year, and finally we launched it during the Stockholm Design Week 2 weeks ago. And it's been amazing working with you, and I'm so happy to elaborate with all the colors that I'm going to show you in this collection. So today we will talk a little bit briefly about color psychology and how to combine colors within interior design. This is a very broad subject, and I can talk for hours and hours and hours about this. So you will get like little nuggets about color psychology. And we will present for about 50 minutes. And then in the end, you will also be able to ask questions to me as an interior designer, or to Ida if you have any questions about the murals, about the wallpaper, and how to put it up on your walls. Yes. So for you who don't know me, I am a Swedish interior designer based in Stockholm in Sweden, although I work all over the world as a colorist, interior designer, and what I usually mostly do is that I do courses about color and color psychology, and I teach in different universities and schools about this subject. And as I said, it's a very, very broad subject. And I know we have people from different parts of the world here. And I know in different parts of the world, I think in the United States, it's much more accepted with color, or even in the southern Europe. But in Sweden, we haven't been used to use color for the last 30 years. But now it's coming back, which I'm very happy about, because it influences how we think and how we feel. And as an interior designer, we usually work on the plan first, and we sketch up our furniture, and we do this in black and white, most of the interior designers and architects. And then we put color in the end of our interior design project. But something that I would like to emphasize and to influence is to start working with the color as soon as you start working with the form. And then you can play with both of these, both color and form, to have the interior design that you like and that you want, and not doing it only in the end of a project. So our collection is called the Aura of Color, and it contains 7 different wallpapers with different gradients. Sometimes the gradient is 1 color, and sometimes it's 2 or more colors. And you can see the whole collection at the belarteSTUDIO. And I call it the Aura of Color. Here you can see one of the wallpapers in the ceiling. So you can put the wallpaper on the wall, but you can also put it in the ceiling, especially this one that is the multicolored wallpaper containing different colors. And the inspiration I had to create this wallpaper is the human body consisting of our aura. So you might wonder, what is an aura? Some of you might have heard the expression. For some of you, maybe it's totally new. But it is a luminous electromagnetic field that surrounds all living beings. And it contains different colors. And today we can see it. You can take a photo of your aura. You can have your aura photographed. Or you can draw your aura if you go to someone who can see the color of your aura. And this is something I have personally been doing the last 3 years. It's called also like a psychic reading. So this is becoming more and more popular to know about your colors in your aura, to also help you to access more of the colors that you might not have so much of. So the whole color collection with the Belarte is based on our aura and the psychology of color. And I usually start with asking this question. How many % of the world's population are affected by color? And if you like, you can write in the chat. It is actually 100% of the world's population feel the effect of color. Even people who are color blind are affected by the energy of color. And this is simply because color is light and light is energy, and therefore color is energy. And there's a lot of papers today, a lot of studies showing this, also called chromotherapy. So chromotherapy, also known as color therapy, which is an easier word, is the science of using colors to adjust body vibrations to the frequencies that are said to result in health and harmony. And this is what I've been fascinated about during my 10 years of working with interior design and color. So when I specialized in color 10 years ago, I studied all the different books and all the different articles and all the different science that has been talking about color. And there's so much more than we think of. usually when we talk about new research, it is hard to understand the research and it is hard to get the research. And usually you say that a research takes 5 to 7 years to reach an interior designer or an architect. But this is an ancient knowledge and has been studied and used for more than 2,000 years throughout history. One of my favorite color gurus, Johannes Itten, he said, every color is a universe on its own. It unfolds differently and evokes feelings and emotions. And I think this is a very easy approach to start to analyze colors and start to work with different colors, to know that every color has a different emotions and will affect us. And we just have to go back in nature to be aware of this. When we didn't have computers and we didn't have Google or an iPhone, the colors in nature described if we could eat something, if a fruit was ripe or not, or if there was any danger insects in the nature that we had to be aware of. So we only have to imagine living without color for a moment to see how much we really rely on it to guide us through everyday life. Because without color, imagine a world being black and white. How would we know if a flying insect is harmless or will sting us? Or if a road is safe to cross, or if food is ripe. So color is around us all the time and gives different signals to us. And I usually show the nature in black and white. And now in Sweden, it is the 1st of March and it's only gray outside. And there's not so many people who would like to live in this gray. We don't like the March or the dark months of the year. So that's why I'm also fascinated how this gray environment has been dominant for a long time in our interior design. And I usually say that the color follows form. Because color is the first feature that we see on an object or in a space. And this is immediately leads us to the conclusion whether or not we like what we see. So before we might heard the term form follows function, but I would like to say that color follows form. And this chromophobia, the fear of color, I usually say that this is only a small part of our history, maybe only 30 years. Because if you remember how it looked in the 70s, we didn't have any black, gray, or white offices. The color scheme was totally different. And it's only like the last 20 years or 30 years that we have been experiencing the white walls around us and the gray offices. And if this is beautiful or not, I don't have any judgment about that. But it is not the best in terms of color psychology. And different people view this differently. My colleague in Norway, she usually say that if we're surrounded with too much white, we have to strengthen our eyes, and usually we get a headache in an environment that is too white around us. Because the white will overstimulate the optical nerve and lead to tiredness, or maybe we feel exhausted. And it is too bright for our eyes, if it's too much light and too white. There has been many different researchers about color psychology. Isaac Newton is one of them who said that color is the reflection and absorptions of light. And when we think of light as color, and we think of energy as light, then we can also think that every color is an energy, and therefore it will affect us in a certain way, or not. So in the neurodesign, recently, they have been discovering that when light enters our eyes, it triggers the release of a chemical transmitter. And this chemical transmitter is initiating electrical messages that are transmitted to the brain and eventually the part called hypothalamus. And this one, together with the pituitary gland, controls everything in our body. Our metabolism, body temperature, water regulation, our sleep, the autonomic nervous system. And this is why we say that color is not just a visual stimulus. It creates physiological changes within us. And therefore, it provides an emotional experience. You maybe have heard of Goethe. I call him the godfather of color. He wrote the book, The Color Bible, which is as thick as a Bible and looks like as a Bible. And he was the first one of the first ones talking about color in the terms of color psychology. And when I look at color psychology, I also look how the painters viewed color back in the days. Kandinsky was one of the profound color theorists who viewed color as a more philosophical matter, and he said that the color is a bridge between your soul and the universe. And it's also interesting to look at the painters, how they viewed color, because they were the color experts before the science. And then, of course, there's a lot of modern research. One still living today, Angela Wright. She brought color into architectural schools and talk about color psychology. So if you're interested in this subject, she's a good reference. And someone else I also want to talk about is Josef Albert, who worked in the Bauhaus school in Weimar in Germany. And he painted, I think, over 2,000 different colored squares, just to show us how difficult it is to understand and view color. Because color always changes depending on the color next to it. And to give an easy example of this, you can see the middle square in the two upper squares. And here it might look different at different screens, but in my screen, the to the right looks a lot brighter than the one to the left. And you can see, depending on the color surrounding the square, it will change its first color. So I always talk about this, and even if you maybe know about this, it's a good reminder of how color deceives and how important it is to look of all the colors together in a room or an interior design before you decide on the colors. Otherwise, you can be very disappointed when you choose a color first and then you put it up on the wall and it's completely a different color almost. And I would say that the gray tones, they deceive us the most. So a gray tone can almost look blue or yellow or green, depending on what it has next to it. Moving forward into color psychology, I would say that from a biology perspective and point of view, we perceive color, and color affects us exactly the same over the whole universe, because we're constructed as we are as human beings, as I was talking about before. But it is not that simple. And the biology also tells us to eat or not to eat. For example, all the fruits or berries are usually red to tell us that they're ripe and you can eat them. But then we have the difficult perspective of culture. So depending on where and when you are born, you will have a certain interest in color, in a certain color or not. Maybe you will like it or maybe you will not like it, depending on where in time you are born, maybe what religion you have in your country, or a simple thing as the color of your flag can influence what you think about a color, or a simple thing of how you talk about a certain color in your country. For example, in Swedish, we say that yellow is ugly because it's a rhyme. And therefore, I think we don't use yellow so much here. But maybe in another country, you have another saying, and you will think about yellow in a totally different way. So we have to be aware of this when we work with color in different cultures. And if you're interested in this, I think Pantone, the Color Institute, has a great map of all the colors and what they mean in different cultures. And then we have the aspect of trends. And usually people say to me that they don't want to follow trends, or they are not affected of trends. And I don't think you should follow trends, but I think all of us know that if something is very, very, very popular, and we see it a lot in interior design magazines, we might start to like it after a while, or not. And there's also something called the wonder effect. And Alice Flattery, she's a neurologist, and she talked about the wonder effect. And it's about seeing something new. When we see something new, it can create this wonder effect within us. It can be a beautiful view, it can be a beautiful natural view, but it can also be something interesting in architecture or interior design that we see. And when we experience this wonder effect, we can reduce chronic inflammation, which is really, really interesting, and release dopamine, which is essential for our creativity. So seeing something new or do some small changes in your interior design, it can still be sustainable. It gives you this wonder effect. So thinking about trends and being aware of them can also be a good thing. And what we see a lot now, when the world is so uncertain and we don't know what's going to happen, is it going to be another pandemic, or is it over? Is it going to be a war or not? How is the prices going up and down? We start to think about something outside ourselves. So the new age and the spirituality has becoming more and more popular, or just go within and listening to yourself and finding that strength within you. Okay, so just having that small disclosure, I would like to ask you, in color psychology, which color will give you more strength? Yes, it's the color of red. Red is maybe the most difficult color to talk about because it means both love, heart, passion. We think of red roses maybe, or red lipstick, but it can also mean blood and destruction and war, and the sign of the stop signs are usually red. When you think about red in interior design, or even if you want to wear the color red, you can think that the red will give you strength, it will give you courage. So every room that you need an extra boost or extra strength or more energy, red is the color to go. Although it can be difficult to spend a lot of time in strong red environments. But usually I recommend it for shorter meeting rooms, or it can also be in, for example, a hallway where you don't spend a lot of time, all the parts where you want to have a little bit more energy. And it also makes the room 2 to 3 degrees warmer, which I think is really interesting. And if we talk about culture, it's the color of luck in China. So if you want to be popular in China, you can use the color of red. So red is also the first color we see in interior design. Therefore, it can be also overwhelming if it's too much red. Only a red little cup or vase or a cushion, it will be the color that you see first in the room. Therefore, all the stop signs are red, for example. Okay, so another question, which color gives you more creativity? If you want to be more creative and boost your creativity, orange is the color. And this is the first wallpaper together with Belarte, the gradient of orange. So in color psychology, they talk about that orange stimulates creativity, and it helps you to get in touch with your sensations of touch and smell and sound and taste. And if you are if you are in a project and you want your colleagues, for example, to say yes to you, orange is a good color to wear because it also stimulates this sense of belonging and being together and saying yes. And usually I also have to test the color psychology that I read. So I usually dance a couple dance called salsa, forró, and bachata. And when I wear black clothes or when I wear orange clothes, I see that many more people will dance with me when I have my orange clothes. So if you go out on Friday night, you know which color to wear. And therefore, I also love to have orange in every room where you want to be social, for example, a dining room or a kitchen, because it stimulates the appetite. And when you work with color, you can work with tone in tone, or you can work with analogous color, which is color close to each other on the color cycle, or with complementary colors. And the complementary color of orange is blue, and therefore they also go very well together. And if you want to have a more subtle color scheme, you can combine the orange with yellows or greens and red tones. And for every wallpaper together with the Belarte, I also choose the 3 different codes from the NCS system that you can work with. And the codes you can use on the doors or to have on, for example, a chair or skirt or maybe ceiling. So feel free to combine the colors together with the wallpaper in your interior design. Okay, this is one of the colors that we lack most in Sweden, and I'm very happy. It hasn't been very popular in the trend section, but now it's coming back, and I'm very happy about this color. So the color that will give you more self-confidence is yellow. And yellow is both very good both in color psychology, but also culture-wise, especially in Scandinavia, because we lack the sun many months in the year, and the color of yellow reminds us of the sun, of sunshine. It gives us hope and happiness and joy. But it also makes us more confident, positive, and optimistic. And in color psychology, they talk about stimulating the intellect. So therefore, yellow is a very good color to surround yourself with when you're studying or when you're learning new things. But be aware not to send yellow roses to anyone in France, because it means that you want to break up. And also in China, it was a forbidden color for many years. And many books that are forbidden to read in China are covered in a yellow paper and put in a yellow corner. But apart from that, very good color to surround yourself when you're studying, learning new things, want to have better self-esteem. And therefore we choose this yellow gradient wallpaper with Belarte to have interior designers choose more yellow in their lives. And it's a beautiful yellow gradient, easy to apply. And today I also want to talk about how important it is to also think about the ceiling. Sometimes I talk about the ceiling as the 5th wall. And a very popular thing right now is to also paint the ceiling in the same color as the wall or the wallpaper. And also here we choose 3 different yellows that goes very well with our wallpaper. Okay, which color will give you more calmness and peace? This is a very easy one. Most people know this one. And it is, of course, green. So green is the color that we see most in nature. And back in the days when we were living in nature, where we saw green, we could also find food and water. So therefore, it was a signal for life and where we could survive as human beings. But something also interesting is that green falls in the middle of the color spectrum, and therefore it requires very little for our eyes, or almost no adjustments to be able to see it. And therefore it gives us this balance, harmony, restful sense when we are in green environments. And there, if you have looked at the NCS color scheme, you can see that there are a lot of green tones. There's not so many yellow tones, but in the green spectrum, you can choose greens together with yellow or together with blue. So we have a lot of greens to choose from. And I think if you want to start to use color, green is a good color to start with, because it's not that difficult. Yellow, it can be a little bit difficult to succeed with yellow, but with green, usually people succeed immediately. And it's both very easy to apply and it's very easy to combine with other colors. I usually say that green goes well with everything. It goes well with blue, pinks, purple. Yeah, I usually combine green with most of the colors. And the only thing you have to look at is if you're working in China, because in China, green means envy. So it's not their lucky color. As you remember, red is the lucky color in China, but green is their unlucky color. So usually they don't like to have green in hospitals or in schools or in different public spaces. But apart from that, I think all over the world, green is a color we could see more of in hospitals or in schools. And there's a term called growth, and it is a concept associated with innovative thinking. So we have, there's been a lot of studies in the UK about the green, and especially in Regent's University in London. They had half of the students looking at a green paper before taking their exams. And then the other half, they were working with a white paper during their exams. And they could see that the students that have looked at the green paper, they performed much better. And in color psychology, usually this relates to that when you look at green, you feel calmer. And when you feel calmer, you can also improve your skills and your thinking. So I usually work with greens in all the rooms that I need more rest, peace. It works very well in a bedroom. But actually in every room that you want to have a more calm and fresh feeling. And especially in cities when you miss nature and you have this lack of nature, green is a very good color to green, or you can also work with plants, of course, in interior design to bring in more greens into your home. And for the wallpaper, we combine the green with a lighter green and with a blue tone. And blue is the next color we're going to talk about. And because the color of blue, it makes us have better communication. It's also a calm color. So for example, in China, where they don't want to use green, blue would be a better suggestions to have in hospitals or to have in any calm environment. But blue also gives logic and clarity. It makes us communicate better. It helps us focus and it boosts our concentration. And many studies have shown that especially in the light blue environments, we concentrate about 20% more in a light blue environment. And I think when Google changed their color, first it was green, and then the links, they were blue, and they got 50% more clicks on the blue links. So it's, and I also, when I teach all around the world, people say usually that blue is their favorite color all around the world. So when you have to concentrate for a long period of time, or you have a working space in your home, or even if you're at your office, the light blue could be a very good color to choose. All right, now we have almost all the colors, but there's a few more. So there's one color that give you hope to dream big and find new solutions. And that is the color of violet. So usually violet environments, they represent our intuitive self. And it moderates the energies between the physical and the spiritual. It also says it helps balance the left and the right halves of the brain, and that we argue less in violet or purple environments. It helps us to be more intuitive and connect to our inner wisdom. So in any condition where you like to have more connection to yourself, be more intuitive, think outside the box, dream bigger, violet or purple will be the color to choose. And I think this is maybe one of my favorites from the collection. It's orange gradient going towards purple. And here you can see how beautiful it looks in a bathroom, but you could use it in any room and have this gradient from orange and purple. Okay, there's one color that's very controversial all over the world. It has been written many books about this color, and it can be very difficult to talk about. But there's one color that will give you more loving awareness. And that is the color of pink. Pink goes under many shades. It has been for a long time associated with little girls. But I want to remind you that that was not actually something that has been in history for so long, because before the Second World War, pink was a color for boys. And blue, light blue, was a color for girls. Because red was a masculine color and light red is pink. So therefore, it was a color for boys. But then during the Second World War, something happened and it switched. And we started to, or the many countries started to marketing pink for little girls. And then it became a color for only girls. But I would like to say that this is maybe one of the most important color that we have, because it connects us to love. It's a very calm and soft color. It's not as bright as red, so it still gives us that little hint of energy. And we can see that we're becoming more, it gives us this joy, this feeling of happiness in the pink environments. And if you look at how the world is looking today with pandemics and wars, I think everyone wants a little bit more pink in their lives, and therefore I'm also sitting here in my pink shirt. And pink is a color that you can have in any room. I think in every room that you would like to feel a bit more happy, joyful, lift up the energy, pink is a very good color. So this gradient, we also combine it with some NCS codes, a little lighter pink, a little stronger saturated pink, and a softer tone for you to combine on furniture or doors or in the ceiling. Feel free to use this as you like. Yes, and there's actually one color. This is very little. Many of you might have an idea about the other colors that I have been talking about, but this color, I would like to tell you about this color because it can create changes in your life. So if you want to have a change, this is the color to go, and it's turquoise. So when you want to have more change, if you feel stagnation in your life, you can use turquoise. But if you don't want to have any changes in your life, please be aware that this will create change. And it also helps us to connect to ancient civilizations such as Lemuria and Atlantis. Yes, and this was all of the wallpapers. We also have one more, which is this one, which is the multiculti gradient, and it goes from the turquoise to the light orange, and down to the purple. This is one of the most bold wallpapers we have in the collection. And why not use it in a hallway or in a hotel, or maybe even in a ceiling, to create a bold, vibrant statement. So I just want to remind you, and also say what Le Corbusier said. Many of you know him. Color in architecture means as powerful as the ground plan and section. And he was one of the one who said that we should start to look at color at the same time as we start to draw our plan or our section in interior design. So yes, that was everything I had to say and talk to you about color psychology, give you some hints and nuggets. There's, of course, a very broad subject, and I can talk forever about it, and there's so much more to say, but this will give you a clue, a starting point. And please keep getting inspired by color. And I'm very interested to hear your questions. If you have any questions to me or to Ida about the collection, how to use it, or if you have anything you would like to tell us or say, we will be here.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sara. A wonderful presentation, really, and really inspiring. So if you have any questions, just turn on your mic or send a message in the chat, and we will answer them.
No questions, but it was a wonderful session. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Very interesting about the switch in colors with children before World War II with the blue and the pink.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to imagine being so different now.
Yep.
So we'll see if we have a question, Sara. Do you see it, or should I read?
Let me see here. Okay, so we have a question from Jonas here. Looking at studies regarding color psychology, how much color do you have to use to reach a significant measurable effect in an environment? As an example, I think you mentioned that color light blue can increase concentration by 20%. Does the complete room need to be in light blue, or could a wall be enough? Okay, this is a very good question. I get this question a lot. And it's usually it's hard to measure exactly how many minutes you have to spend in this room to get this effect. But I would like to say that the more saturated the color it is, the more effect it will give you. For example, if you wear it on a clothes. But on a wall, it could be too much to have a very saturated color. So toning down the color with a little bit of blackness or whiteness is better if you want to stay in that room for a longer period. And apart from that, I would like to say you have to experiment yourself a little bit with it. Usually when I talk about color psychology, I also say you don't have to follow anything I say, just try it. Try it on your clothes or on small things in your interior design and see if you get this effect that I'm talking about.
Nice. I think we have gotten some questions beforehand also, Sarah.
Yes.
So I can take one of them now. What would you say is the first step to start incorporating color into your home?
If you have a white home, I would start to use softer tones to get used to color. If you don't want to go bold all the way in the beginning. But apart from that, you can also, I think it's easier to start with, for example, a carpet, or maybe have a painting at home. So you have a color reference, and then you build your color scheme around that. And usually in a room, I usually say that you can have up to 9-10 colors in a room as long as they go well together, and maybe you work with tone in tone and then a contrasting color. So don't be afraid to have many colors in the room if they are maybe in the same tonality or if they are in the same color group.
Yeah, good answer. So I have a question for you also, Sarah. What's your favorites from the collection?
Yeah, well, yes. My favorite was all the time the orange and the purple one. But now I just did my one of my rooms here at my home, my office, and I did the aura wallpaper, and it looks absolutely amazing. So
Yeah,
now
I
that
saw
is
it.
my new favorite.
Stunning. Let's say, yeah. We also got a question more about the wallpaper, and it is. I have a design I love, but the colors are not a perfect fit for me. Is it possible to change it? And that question I can answer, of course. And no problem. We can pretty much customize anything. So if you have a specific NCS color or any other color system as a reference, just send us an email and we can adjust to your requirements and color options. So it's not a problem at all. Everything is doable for us, I would say. Yeah, so we'll see if we have any more questions or if we should start to think about to wrap this up, I guess. It was lovely to having you, Sarah. It's been a blast to working with you and experimenting with all these designs and the process of making the collection.
Yes, thank you very much for this collaboration. If you have any further questions, you can always get in contact with me or Ida,
Yes,
and we will try to answer as good as possible.
yeah. And I think also now, since we have recorded the webinar, it will be available if someone needs to see it again or to show a colleague or someone they're working with to keep the inspiration flowing. And we hope to see more and more colors in the interiors ahead.
Yes, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you all for joining us today, and hope to see you soon in another webinar, maybe in the future. Really nice to have you joining us.